best rivalry in the last 5 years. When you think of football rivalries, we think of Barcelona versus Real Madrid, or maybe even a Bayern Munich versus Borussia Dortmund, and in some rare circumstances, we think of Liverpool versus Manchester United. Leaving jokes aside, these teams have history and passionate fans that actually despise one another. I think that these teams nowadays are not what they once were. I know that my take might be a little bit crazy, but hear me out. Rivalries come and go, and we all have seen the decline of El Clásico. Ever since Cristiano Ronaldo left Real Madrid and Lionel Messi left Barcelona, global football has never been the same. Both of these teams have not been able to acquire a worldwide superstar, making the viewership of their league not as high as they once used to be. This also applies with the German teams. In my eyes, these teams don't have a rivalry at this exact same moment because over the last 7 years, we have seen the exuberant dominance that Bayern Munich has had on the Borussia Dortmund and on every other team in their domestic league. From buying players all around their same league, this is kind of making it sort of a monopoly game, even stealing players from Borussia Dortmund. This is why they are the top favorites to win the Bundesliga every single year. The only other rivalry that I've mentioned is Liverpool versus Manchester United, and we kind of all know that Manchester United is not at the same level as Liverpool right now and hasn't been competitive in the last 10 years. The proposal I have for the best rivalry in the last 5 years lies a little bit north of London and into the cities of Liverpool and Manchester. Liverpool and Manchester City over the last few years have been a blast to watch as a football fan. From one world-breaking transfer to another, these teams had formed a great rivalry in the last few seasons. The lack of star talent in Real Madrid and Barcelona, as I mentioned before, made people look away from La Liga and looking into other leagues, specifically the Premier League. But where I think this new rivalry began might be a little bit tricky to unravel. Some people might point back to that 2014 Premier League run where Liverpool and Man City were battling it out. I really don't think that is the case. I believe rivalry is created by specific delimiting factors. The first major factor has to deal with the managers and the respective clubs. During this 2014 title run, Manchester City was run/directed by Manuel Pellegrini and Liverpool was managed by Brendan Rodgers. These two managers never had any problems or history whatsoever, hence there was no rivalry. Where I think this rivalry started was in the 2017 Champions League, in which Manchester City and Liverpool faced in the quarterfinals. For all the matchups between these two over the last years, they have only played twice across one-legged matchup in these same quarterfinals. This is where I believe it all began. What I had previously stated about the delimiting factors of rivalries. When talking about managers, these two managers have a little bit of backstory. As we all know, during the 2017 season, Manchester City had Pep Guardiola and Liverpool had Jurgen Klopp. Both managers' last appointments were in the Bundesliga, specifically Bayern with Pep and Dortmund with Klopp. This is where I believe their rivalry began. The two managers have a lot of history, sharing big moments and big results between them across them both in the Bundesliga and the German Cup. Pep has the edge when it comes to his trophy haul, while Klopp edged Guardiola in cup competitions during their time in Germany, while Pep held the Bundesliga title on lockdown for most of that time. Even though Guardiola has a genius brain and an amazing managing style, it is fair to say that he has time and time again gone to the most elite clubs in the world whose squad had already been established and whose pockets ran deep. On the other hand, Klopp has built from the ashes or back into relevancy everywhere he has gone, and he has done it on a tight budget at every single destination. This also makes them such unique managers in their own right, and in my opinion, I would definitely choose Jurgen Klopp to manage my team if I had any sort of budget predicament. Going back to that 2017 Champions League quarterfinals, I really do believe this is where the rivalry started. In their first leg of the matchup, Klopp beat Pep with a demanding 2-1 victory, followed by another 3-0 victory in the second leg. Following that win, Liverpool reached the final, but evidently lost to Real Madrid. Since that day, both teams have been battling it out to win the Premier League every year. So on paper, Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola have been rivals for the last 10 years, leaving their rivalry intact. This is one of the reasons why I believe Liverpool and Man City are the best rivals in the last 5 years. Another delimiting factor that I think matters when talking about a rivalry has to do to its players. Players determine the outcome of team successes, and these teams have not had a shortage of success whatsoever. As we all know, Manchester City has won many Premier Leagues in the last 5 years. The reason Manchester City has been able to hold this type of success is because they have one of the richest owners in the world and had made records transfer after transfer. Man City has vital players such as Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, and a record signing £100 million move from Jack Grealish, and more recently signing the likes of Calvin Phillips, Marco Cucurella, and most importantly, the signing of Erling Haaland, eclipsing Jack Grealish's record signing only 1 year apart from each other. This is why Manchester City is a much-watched team each season due to their expectations as well as their money spent on players. On the other hand, Liverpool signings have been on par with Manchester City, even though they don't even come close to what Manchester City has spent. With Mohamed Salah being at the Ballon d'Or storefront, we can see why Liverpool must be a much-watched team. Virgil van Dijk, Luis Diaz, Thiago Alcantara, Alisson Becker, all of these players make Liverpool a more competitive team, especially with the new addition of Darwin Núñez with the hefty price tag of $100 million. This is making Liverpool a more attractive club for players to develop under the management of Jurgen Klopp. This is why Liverpool is a much-watched team as well. This is why players influence so much in the rivalries that we see today. They bring so much influx of audiences that we have not seen in the Premier League before. This making the league more competitive than it already was. With these two limiting factors, this is why these two teams have the biggest rivalry in football at the moment. What do you think constitutes a great rivalry? Leave your thoughts on the comments below.